Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to talk about 3 of these essential tricks that you can use to make your content accessible. I'm going to talk about headings, alternative text for images, and color and contrast. The videos that follow will talk about using descriptive links and table headers to make your content accessible. Then there'll be a video all about video captioning all by itself. So I'm going to start talking about certain features in Microsoft products that allow you to make your content accessible. And I'm going to start off with Microsoft Word, something that we use a lot of. The first thing that you see in that circle, it says something about using headings. And let me explain what that means. If somebody is blind or visually impaired, they may use a technology known as a screen reader. A screen reader reads the content, the information that's on a page, out loud to that disabled person. Screen readers, however, do not make distinctions between something that is in bold or something that's in a different color. So if you want students to understand the document structure or something so they can make sense of the information, you have to use headings. Screen readers use the headings to make sense of that information. Headings typically are found in the home ribbon of Microsoft Word, and it looks similar to this. And for headings, you usually want to use this general rule. For anything that's normal text that you're talking about, just normal paragraph, you want to use heading 1. And that is the default that shows up in Microsoft Word. You don't have to do anything to change it. It's the default that automatically shows up in there. If you're using titles, you want to use heading 1. And if you're using like an outline that uses different sections, you want to use heading 2. So on this next slide, what you see is a sample syllabus. And on this sample syllabus, there's 2 types of text. There's the normal text that shows up as the default in Microsoft Word. And that normal text has the university name, the name of the course, the name of the instructor, and the phone number of the instructor. Immediately underneath there, there's a word that says course description, and that course description is in a different font and in a different color. That is a heading. So the screen reader would read that as course description, it would pause, and then it would proceed to read the information directly underneath it. So the student who is listening to this would understand, well, here's course description. Whatever it says afterwards means course description. Then the next thing it would say basic course information, which again is in a different font and in a different color, indicating that this is another source of information. So people with screen readers use that information to understand the document structure. To further illustrate my point, let me show you what it looks like in Microsoft Word. I'm in Microsoft Word right here, and I can see that the headings show up under the Styles tab in Microsoft Word, under the Home ribbon. So it's the first ribbon in Microsoft Word. It's under the Styles tab. And the way it works is when I start writing in here, by default, it is on the normal, the regular text. And I can just type my information in there. If I move my mouse over, I will see a gray box right around it, and it will change the way the words look. So if I wanted to see what heading 1 would look like, I could click on it, and I could see that immediately it changes my text to a different color and to a different size, indicating that this is what heading 1 looks like. If I wanted to do the same thing for heading 2, I could click on it, and I can also see that it also changes the color and the font, the way the font looks, to indicate that there is a change in the document. Now I want to talk about text boxes. In general, you want to avoid using text boxes when you do anything in Microsoft Word and in PowerPoint. The reason for this is a screen reader may not understand a text box, and it will read it as an image. So if I'm a disabled person using a screen reader, it would tell me this is a picture. Well, if I'm visually impaired, that doesn't tell me what's in there, and I can't make sense of the information in there. Especially if there's information in that text box that I might need. So a text box, the way it appears, if you click and drag it, you're physically making a new box. And when you type information into that text box, the minute you remove your mouse, a box shows up around it. And that becomes the problem because then it makes it very difficult for screen readers to read. Now, this is not to be confused with the text layouts that we normally see in PowerPoint. So when we get normally in PowerPoint, we typically see something where it says, here's the title, and then there's two text boxes directly underneath it where it says click to add text. This is not the same thing because once I start typing information into these boxes, the minute I move my mouse away from the boxes, it becomes text. It is not a text box. It's not surrounded by a box. So a screen reader would actually be able to read and understand that. So the layouts that come with PowerPoint are actually accessible and they're okay. It's when you start adding newer text boxes to this that it becomes problematic because the screensavers cannot read that. Now, while I'm on that point, I want to talk about images. In the circle, it talked about something called alternative text. And what alternative text is a description of a picture that you have available. If I am blind or have low vision, I can't understand what a picture is. You have to give me a description of it. You can either provide a description of it in your writing or an audio description of it, or you can use what's called an alternative text. Alternative text allows you to put descriptions of any picture. So if I have a picture in Microsoft, in any Microsoft product, I can right-click on it, and I can click on Format Picture. And when I do that, I get a menu that shows up. And the alternative text logo is usually the third one on that first row, and it looks like a square with 4 arrows pointing north, south, east, and west. And if I click on that, I will see where it says alternative text. Where it says title, I can give a title to the picture, but I can need to put a description underneath it. And that description needs to explain to me what that is a picture of. So I can't be vague and say picture 1. Because if I'm disabled and not able to see with a picture, you saying picture 1 means nothing to me. So if I have a picture of a boy shoveling the snow, it should not say picture. It should say picture is of a boy shoveling snow. The more descriptive you can be and the more precise, the better. Now let's talk about color. Contrary to popular belief, you can actually use color in your content. There's actually a specific ratio of color that you need to use, but I'm not going to really get into that because sometimes that can be a little overwhelming. The main thing you need to understand is that it has to contrast. On this particular slide, I have two pictures. I have a picture of a slide that's inaccessible and a slide that's accessible. And the inaccessible slide has a brown background with designs on it. So the brown background has designs on it. And then there is text in there. The text is in blue ink, and there's also text in there in green. Now, I don't have to be disabled to tell you that's very hard to see. I'm not disabled and find this hard to read. Right next to it is a picture of an accessible slide that has the same information. It has a simple brown background, no designs in the back of it. It has the words in white and not blue or green, so the white stands out against the brown, so it contrasts. Now the main thing with color, while you can use it, you want to make sure that you're not using color as the only way to convey meaning. Meaning you don't want to put something in your course that says, look at arrow 1, look at the red arrow, look at the green arrow. If I'm colorblind, I may have a problem understanding which one's which. So I don't want to use color as the only way of conveying meaning or information. Now I know that sounds a little scary, but here's the really good news. All Microsoft products have accessible templates. So you can actually use PowerPoint or Word or Excel, and you can actually type in the words accessible templates in the search box when you go to new, and it will give you all kinds of accessible templates with color that you can use. For example, this particular slide is an accessible slide. It has color, it has a background, it has some color at the top, and it's got white letters to contrast so that someone can read it. So let me illustrate what I mean. I have gone to PowerPoint and I've clicked on New. And when I do that, I see a search box. It says Search for Templates and Themes. If I type in the words Accessible Template in here and I push Enter, Microsoft is going to give me a long list of different templates that I can use that are ready to use with colors that are accessible and can be read by any screen reader or assistive technology. This also works for Microsoft Word. So if I go to Microsoft Word and I type in new, I can type in things like accessible report. And if I do that, again, I will have templates that show up that I can use that have it already structured and set up for accessibility. I don't even have to do the guesswork in it. The same thing also works for Excel documents. So if I go to Excel, I can do the exact same thing for an Excel document. I can come up here where it says search and I can say accessible, and I can say maybe an accessible budget template. And then when I do that, I automatically get worksheets that are accessible for assistive technology. So it takes the guesswork of what you have to do.